Is artificial intelligence better than a human?
An actor can do nothing, and now I can generate any emotion on their face with just a couple of
A
clicks.
single mistake of his led to a loss of $2 million.
The bosses call me, shouting into the phone, to fire everyone. Now we have technological tools that will replace everyone, and they send me 50 AI editing services to my email.
We are entering a new era of cinema.
We are entering uncharted territory. Whether we are willing to risk the very essence of cinema for the efficiency that artificial intelligence offers, it is unclear whether artificial intelligence will become an ally or a destructive force, undermining the very essence of cinema.
Hi AI. This is Dr. AI, the chief specialist in implementing artificial intelligence in marketing and administrative processes for small and medium-sized businesses. In our podcast, we invite professionals from various fields of business and art and learn their secrets of using artificial intelligence in the smallest details, all so that you can apply these insights in your own business. Today we are starting a new section, an investigation into artificial intelligence in art. Technologies have already transformed the world of medicine and manufacturing, but art is a completely unique sphere. It is built on intuition, emotions, and self-expression. According to estimates from the largest consulting firms, the potential application of artificial intelligence in the film and television industry is valued at an incredible $500 billion. What will these technologies bring to the film industry? Let's discuss with our guests. Today we are talking about post-production and film and show editing with Jason Cooper, the editing director of one of the largest studios. Dresden works with the most popular shows that we all watch. He has a lot of stories, including one where a single mistake of his led to a loss of $2 million. There is much to talk about. Jason, we are glad to see you on our podcast.
Hello. Thank you indeed for inviting me. I am very glad to be here.
And we are very glad, Jason. So, let's get started. Artificial intelligence is undoubtedly changing the landscape of cinema. But from your point of view, does it expand creative boundaries or simply accelerate the technical side of things? How does it fit into this complex dance of creativity and precision?
Oh, it is definitely an important tool. Quite amazing, in fact. Imagine all those tedious hours spent organizing footage or making basic adjustments. Now most of that is done by artificial intelligence in just a few minutes. This frees me from the need to focus on the art of storytelling, which is a true pleasure for an editor.
Okay, Jason, the main question right away. Is artificial intelligence better than a human?
A complex question. Algorithms handle technical issues well, but creativity is entirely human. Tools can select shots based on patterns or angles, but they have no idea which ones convey emotional impact. And that is my job. Artificial intelligence should assist, not take on all the responsibility.
So, it rather stimulates creative potential than destroys it.
Yes, definitely. Some people are afraid that artificial intelligence makes editing robotic, but for me, it's the opposite. When artificial intelligence handles all the work it can manage, I can focus on the pace, mood, and those emotional beats that make the scene right.
Since we are talking about work, I'm curious how much time artificial intelligence saves.
A lot. Very much. Tasks that used to take a whole day, such as sorting through hours of footage, can now be done in a few hours. I would say that artificial intelligence saves me 30 to 40% of the time I used to spend on boring, repetitive tasks.
40%. That's a lot. But have there been any mishaps with artificial intelligence?
Of course, there have been. Sometimes, artificial intelligence can be too creative. Once, artificial intelligence tried to combine a car chase scene with a quiet dinner. It thought the lighting matched. Let's say it resulted in a unique edit. But it's a reminder that artificial intelligence is just a tool, and it requires constant oversight.
Yes. Sometimes artificial intelligence tries to flex its creative muscles in unexpected ways. Right. It seems like you have a too impatient intern. Right.
I call such moments exceeding the capabilities of AI. But as long as we keep an eye on it, it's more amusing than frustrating. the overall time savings still far outweigh these occasional funny moments.
Okay, algorithms do the heavy lifting, but we still guide it, making sure it doesn't become, let's say, too creative. Am I right?
Yes, it's like having a super fast assistant who always consults with me before refining anything. Even if there are occasional hiccups, artificial intelligence keeps everything moving quickly. We just need a little human oversight.
I see. But if algorithms are responsible for a lot, has the structure of your team changed? Have you fired unnecessary employees due to the introduction of artificial intelligence?
Imagine the situation. The bosses call me, shouting into the phone, to fire everyone. Now we have technological tools that will replace everyone. And they send me 50 AI editing services to my email. But no, that didn't happen. In the past, we had more junior editors who organized the footage or worked on rough cuts. But now much of this is done by algorithms. However, instead of job cuts, it is more about the redistribution of roles. Now, these team members can focus on creative tasks, on effects, on refining the edit, on everything that algorithms simply cannot handle.
So, artificial intelligence is transforming roles in your team.
Yes. Artificial intelligence has taken over the technical foundation, leaving people with more opportunities for creativity.
Okay, but artificial intelligence is not just a tool. It raises serious debates about the future of cinema and creativity. Jason, let's try to figure out if it's really possible for artificial intelligence to replace humans in the editing process of shows and film.
It's a big question. And to be honest, it divides many people. Personally, I believe that new tools can help us become more efficient. But when it comes to taking on creative editing, I'm not sure. Editing is not just a dry cut of scenes. It's about capturing emotions, nuances, and understanding the plot on a deep emotional human level. That's something that no tools can provide us with yet, for now.
But what do you think? Can artificial intelligence, as it develops, start making more complex decisions? For example, will it eventually be able to understand the emotional flow of a scene?
There is potential in this, but here is the problem. Even if new technologies can analyze emotions, they will still lack something substantial, something important. After all, editing it's not just following formulas or algorithms, it's intuition, empathy, very subtle things that can turn a good scene into a great one. I think we are still very far from artificial intelligence being able to replace human vision.
This is important. Let's talk about an important part of the editing process. For example, color correction. We have heard that artificial intelligence is now being used for color correction. It is a game changer for colorists. What does this look like in practice?
Traditionally, color correction is an art that requires a lot of time. When colorists precisely adjust each scene to ensure the unity of the color palette and emotional tone of the entire film. Now, AI-based color correction can analyze a sample frame and replicate the color scheme across all scenes of the film. Thus, if you need consistency or even a specific mood, artificial intelligence can apply it almost instantly. It does not replace the artistic vision of the colorist, but serves as a powerful tool that accelerates the process. Algorithms can handle the heavy lifting of ensuring consistency, allowing colorists to focus more on creative adjustments and artistic nuances.
Sounds interesting. What about sound editing? This is another area where artificial intelligence is gaining momentum, right?
Yes, new technologies are revolutionizing sound editing. Imagine being able to clean up dialogue, remove background noise, and adjust sound levels without relying on multiple programs. Now it is even possible to match ambient sounds between clips to avoid abrupt changes in background noise. Sound engineers will certainly still be needed, but with new technologies that can handle technical issues, they will certainly be able to focus on more creative aspects of sound design. This could really lead to a new standard of seamless sound in film.
All right, let's talk about visual effects. In modern cinema, they play an important role, and AI-based special effects seem to be a turning point in solving repetitive tasks.
Yes, of course. But I want to note that I am not a professional in the field of visual effects. I know a little. Tasks such as rotoscoping, tracking, and basic compositing can take up a huge amount of time. Now, a lot of this can be automated. Artists do not need to spend hours on frame-by-frame object tracing. This will allow VFX artists to focus on more complex creative elements, bringing their ideas to life instead of getting bogged down in repetitive tasks. We are definitely on the brink of a new era of special effects, where artists will be able to be more creative than ever.
Tell me, what else does artificial intelligence help with?
It can notice errors in character placement, detect lighting mistakes, or even point out background elements that do not match in different takes. This can reduce the number of reshoots and increase consistency between scenes. It's like an assistant that is perfectly attentive to details, allowing directors to focus on the plot, without worrying about every little mistake. So yes, it is now possible to ensure a flawless visual flow with less effort.
Okay, what about the process of selecting clips?
Does artificial intelligence help the editor? Yes, artificial intelligence can analyze a scene and suggest optimal start and end points based on factors such as action, dialogue, or even emotions. Imagine how much time this can save. Editors receive, so to speak, a rough draft that allows them to make adjustments if necessary. The suggestion of artificial intelligence can free editors from the main task of trimming text, allowing them to focus more on the bigger picture.
Well, okay. Jason, thank you. Now, an uncomfortable question. I heard that a few years ago, because of you, the studio lost $2 million on one of the projects. Is that true? And if so, what happened?
Yes, indeed, it's a truth I would like to forget. It was 2018, and I was working on a big sci-fi show for one of the leading streaming platforms. We are talking about a huge budget, top-class actors, and stunning visual effects. A project that truly keeps you up at night because you absolutely want it to be perfect.
I see. So what went wrong?
It all started with a crazy deadline. We were approaching the end of production, and we needed to deliver the final edit to the special effects team. To speed up the process, they split the editing into two teams. One team handled the main cut, while I worked on the emotionally charged scene that was meant to define the entire season. I was in the zone, refining every frame, making sure that every emotion hit home. But in all this chaos, I forgot to double-check the file names before sending. I thought I had sent the final version to the special effects team, but it turned out I sent the draft version without the most important close-up shots.
Oh God. I see where this is going. So the special effects team started working with the wrong footage.
Yes. They worked for 2 weeks on the wrong version. By the time I got a call from the director, it was already too late. The worst part was, we had already shot it so close to the deadline fixing it meant either paying for the overtime work of the entire special effects team or reshooting the most important scenes, which was also very expensive.
And this is where the figure of $2 million comes into play.
Yes. This is an approximate calculation. Due to the rushed reshoots and overtime pay for the entire special effects team, costs spiraled out of control. It wasn't just about the money. Everyone had to drop everything and work around the clock to fix my mistake. People were giving up their weekends. Nerves were frayed. It was a tough 2 weeks.
It must have been brutal. What was going on in your head?
I just felt sick, to be honest. I have always been meticulous. But in this situation, with the hectic schedule, one detail slipped away, and the consequences were huge. It was, to put it mildly, humiliating. Since then, I have become a fanatic about checking files in every project, and I have not made such mistakes again, and I hope I never will.
I really appreciate that you are speaking openly about this. Hearing the story, I can't help but ask the question, if you had some advanced artificial intelligence that could perhaps catch this mistake, do you think it could have been avoided?
You know, I actually thought a lot about this. At a time when artificial intelligence in editing was still quite simple, and it was mainly used to perform the simplest tasks. But if we had tools like we do now, which can analyze versions, track footage, and mark discrepancies, I think we would have noticed that because the transition from the rough draft to the final version would have become more transparent.
That is, artificial intelligence can act as a safety net, catching those small details that the human eye might miss when everything around becomes just crazy.
Yes. Just imagine that you have a tool that scans every frame and compares versions, and it warns that if something is missed or marked incorrectly, the system not only checks but constantly monitors and rechecks, including on your behalf. In such high-pressure conditions, when you are constantly racing against time, having such a reserve can be a decisive factor.
That's right, I agree. After all, it's not just about speeding up the process, but also about not missing anything.
Yes, at the current pace of production, it is almost impossible for a human team to catch every detail, especially when deadlines are tight. If we had artificial intelligence back then, it would probably have noted that the draft was unfinished before it reached the special effects specialists.
So, as I understand it, artificial intelligence will not replace the editor now, but it can act as, say, a second set of eyes.
Yeah, in the near future it definitely will not take on creative decision-making, but it will give editors and directors a bit of peace of mind. It's like having a devoted assistant, as I mentioned before, who never gets tired, always tracks every cut and every version. For a project where millions are at stake, this is invaluable. Yes, it seems, as you say, that artificial intelligence can indeed act as a safety net that allows us to completely focus on the art.
It's interesting to ponder whether such an AI assistant will become a necessary attribute in the future.
I think so. Teams that do not use artificial intelligence will lose. As projects become more complex and we strive to speed up deadlines, the new tool may be the only way to maintain quality at such speed. Looking back, I can say that if I had access to something that could catch my mistake, I would gladly rely and use such a tool.
Okay. Jason, I recently read somewhere, possibly Disney, possibly someone else, discussing the possibility of using algorithms for re-editing based on test audience feedback. This seems like a radical shift in how films are refined after viewing.
I have heard that too, but there is nothing like that right now. I have not encountered this in my practice. Traditionally, directors rely on test screenings to understand how the audience reacts, and then make adjustments manually. New technologies allow for analyzing audience feedback, capturing things like emotional reactions or pacing issues. It can even suggest re-editing. For example, cut this scene, speed up this scene, so as not to distract the viewers. Such editing based on feedback can make films more audience-oriented, which is undoubtedly a balancing act. Directors must decide how to maintain their vision while also considering feedback.
Guys, imagine editing a film almost in real time, based solely on your reaction. This is undoubtedly a new level. And speaking of visualization and visual corrections, artificial intelligence also improves motion tracking and stabilization, right?
Motion tracking with modern algorithms can stabilize shaky footage, accurately track movements, and smoothly connect elements without complicated manual work. This can be a decisive factor, especially for indie directors who do not have access to high-end equipment. With the help of new tools, footage is transformed from shaky camera to ready-to-shoot film in just a few seconds. This frees editors from the need to spend hours on frame-by-frame correction, allowing them to focus on creating the storyline.
Jason, I suggest we raise the temperature of our conversation. Let's talk about one of the most controversial possibilities: facial recognition and recasting actors. Can artificial intelligence change an actor's face in the post-production process? That is, the film is shot, and you, as the editor, change the actor's face.
I'll raise the stakes even higher. An actor can do nothing, and now I can generate any emotion on their face with just a couple of clicks. Artificial intelligence can replace faces, expressions, and even correct performance elements in different takes. If the director feels that a different facial expression is needed in a certain scene, they can make these changes digitally. In extreme cases, one can even reperform a role by replacing the face of another actor. This is practical for correcting minor mistakes or missed shots. And of course, this raises huge ethical questions about the authenticity of actors' roles. It is both an incredible tool and a potential overreach of creative control.
With all these technological advancements, a question arises in my mind. If artificial intelligence can manipulate faces, swap actors, and even enhance performances, do we need actors in the same form as before? Can we reach a point where directors will use digital versions of big stars without ever inviting them to the set?
It's a troubling possibility. If artificial intelligence can imitate the face, voice, and mannerisms of a famous actor, then hypothetically, a digital actor could be made to perform a role without any physical presence on set at all. The ethical questions are becoming increasingly murky. What will happen to the art of acting if a director can portray someone without their permission? And how will this affect the legacy of the actor? Will we one day be able to create new films with Marilyn Monroe or James Dean in the lead role, without the need to license anyone? There is a real danger that the need for human talent will diminish, and not every director likes that.
Exactly. And this brings us to another pressing question. Who controls these digital versions of actors? What if an indie director wants to use the image of a celebrity in their low-budget production? Can he be allowed to do that? What prevents someone from resurrecting, say, the image of a cult actor, the actors you mentioned, and making them act in scenes they might never have agreed to?
We currently have no clear recommendations for such cases, but they are quickly becoming necessary. Indie cinema may view artificial intelligence as a way to enhance the appeal of its films by adding recognizable faces. There is again a fine line between imitation and exploitation. If we are not careful, the industry may be flooded with unauthorized digital performances, leading to a decrease in the value of real actors. Soon, I think this will become a battleground for legal disputes as actors and their heirs seek control over their digital likenesses.
And not only actors, but directors may find that their creative control is weakening. If artificial intelligence can suggest edits based on audience feedback, who is actually responsible for the final cut? Doesn't the choice of data-driven algorithms blur the director's vision?
It's one thing to use artificial intelligence tools to enhance the director's work, and another when decisions, including creative ones, are made automatically. Imagine receiving a recommendation from artificial intelligence to remove a scene or adjust the pacing based solely on audience preferences. Where is the line between artistic integrity and giving viewers what they want to see? If artificial intelligence starts to take charge, we risk turning every film into a formula optimized for the mass audience, but devoid of its unique vision. Cinema is an art form, and it would be a shame if new tools push it towards creating a more homogeneous, risk-averse product.
It seems like a double-edged sword, doesn't it? While these tools open new opportunities for both indie directors and major studios, they also open the door to all sorts of ethical dilemmas. For example, should there be limits on the intervention of artificial intelligence in the creative process? Who decides what constitutes ethical use and what does not?
These are crucial questions. We are entering uncharted territory, where it is unclear whether artificial intelligence will become an ally or a destructive force undermining the very essence of cinema. To preserve creative potential, we may need a governing body that will oversee how artificial intelligence is used in cinema. Perhaps, I believe the industry needs a set of standards films made with artificial intelligence and films with purely human editing. If new technologies continue to develop at the same pace, we may soon have to label films with something like created with the help of artificial intelligence, as is done in the case of visual effects, so that viewers know how much was created by a machine rather than a human.
Let's think about the impact on jobs. If artificial intelligence can take over color correction, sound design, and even asset management, will we see a reduction in specialized editing professions? Or are we facing a future where everyone becomes a generalist, assisted by some algorithm?
Quite likely. In the future, with the technologies we are discussing today, years of specialized training for each skill may no longer be necessary. Perhaps we will see more all-in-one creatives, where editors will resemble post-production directors more, guiding artificial intelligence rather than doing all the complex work themselves. But on the other hand, we risk losing the artistry that comes from a deep mastery of the craft. Some of the greatest moments in cinema were created by editors and colorists who saw things in their own way as no machine ever could.
And the last question, can artificial intelligence eventually become a director? Will it be able to analyze stories, edit scenes, and propose innovative ideas?
This sounds like science fiction, but it is not impossible. Imagine a tool trained on thousands of classic films, trained to understand pace, dialogue, visual storytelling, script, and text. Theoretically, it will be able to direct a film, adhering to well-known cinematic techniques. The question is whether it can create something original with soul and vision. I believe that artificial intelligence can become a kind of co-director, performing technical tasks, but it will not reach true originality and emotions. A human touch will still be required, at least for now. The question is whether we are willing to risk the very essence of cinema for the efficiency that artificial intelligence offers.
Thank you, Jason. Well, that's it. We discussed the main points that interested us in film and show editing. Based on the conversation, what can be said? Artificial intelligence will remain here. It will be with us, but the soul of storytelling remains in our hands. Thank you, Jason, for the meaningful conversation. I would add that we are entering a new era of cinema, and the decisions we make now, the actions we take, are what will shape the industry for years to come. Our listeners, if this conversation has made you think, continue the discussion, share your thoughts on artificial intelligence, storytelling, whether it should be used in editing, whether it should be used to create certain stories. Can it replace a director or several people in the editing team? Can it replace certain professions or even destroy them? We are very much looking forward to your opinion. This was Dr. AI with you. I want to take my leave and say goodbye until next time.